and welcome to episode number 45 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeartRadio. My name is Esports and Gaming Insider Jason Fanelli. That's my full name. It's on my birth certificate. And I hope you are having a great weekend as you listen to this, or a great Friday morning if you're listening to this in podcast form. I am recording on Thursday night after a long day of birthday celebrations. My little girl Olivia turned 5 on Thursday. Very happy for her. She had a great day with a lot of playing around, a lot of having fun, and cake and ice cream and presents and all the things that a 5-year-old birthday should be. Major props to my wife for what she put together for her. It was an absolute wonderful day. The kid has never felt more loved in her life, and my wife is an absolute savant when it comes to making people feel special on their birthdays. So, in fact, she should make a career out of it, if you ask me. But I digress. You are here to hear about esports and video games, and that's what we shall do. I'm going to go over all of Week 1 of the Overwatch League and then give my picks for Week 2. Talk about what happened in Call of Duty Warzone this week. A lot of big changes going on there. And then finally, we'll wrap things up with a birthday-themed segment. But don't worry, it'll be more fun than just me talking about my birthday activities, or my daughter's birthday activities for the entirety of Thursday. Before we do any of that, however, let's get into the 6 in 60 seconds. Your Philadelphia Fusion go 2-0 on opening weekend of the Overwatch League, beating the Seoul Dynasty 3-1 and the LA Valiant 3-0, putting them tied for first in the overall standings. Guangzhou Spark and the Chengdu Hunters are coming up this weekend. An in-person playtest for Riot's upcoming fighting game, currently known as Project L, has been confirmed for April 23rd to the 25th. Major fighting game tournament Red Bull Kumite is returning with Red Bull Kumite London, May 22nd and 23rd, with Street Fighter V and a Guilty Gear Strive exhibition being featured. Elsewhere, Call of Duty Warzone nukes the original Verdansk map, introduces new Verdansk 1984 map for Season 3. We'll get into that. Electronic Arts teases new Battlefield projects, including the next installment in the main franchise and a mobile Battlefield version. And finally, Hades by Supergiant Games is named Game of the Year at the 2020 Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences DICE Awards, which played out online via roundtables with the developers on Thursday. Those are your 6 in 60 seconds. Yes, there they are. Those are the 6 in 60 seconds, as always brought to you by the sponsor for cheesesteaks and controllers, Ghost Shaver. The Ghost Shaver is designed to feel like it's an extension of your arm, allowing users to reach anywhere on the head, face, or body. The precision cutting system gives you a close and smooth shave every single time, with its 5 different rotary flex action super thin blades and patented handheld design. Go to ghostshaver.com to check it out and get yours today. Ghost Shaver, a shave above the rest. And there you are. Those are the 6 in 60 seconds for the week. Lots of big things to talk about here. The Call of Duty stuff we'll get into in the second segment, and why it's important, why this type of thing is important for the future of gaming as a whole, to be completely honest. We'll get into some more on the birthday stuff, like I said, at the end. But first and foremost, let's talk about the return of the Overwatch League. That's right, we are now 1 week in to the Overwatch League. The first week of qualifiers for the May Melee tournament are complete, and your Philadelphia Fusion looked pretty good. We're going 2-0 over the weekend, 3-1 to Seoul, 3-0 to the LA Valiant. And like I said to Sean Brace on the Daily Ticket, I didn't really have a lot of fear of the LA Valiant, but the Seoul Dynasty were the ones that were giving me agita. And it turns out that they did pretty good. They lost one map to Seoul on a big boneheaded mistake by a couple of players. And there were some times where they felt like they were lagging behind or they were out of place. Every time I looked, it looked like Rascal, the guy we picked up from San Francisco, was dead. But they turned it around. They did what they had to do. They took care of business. And they now enjoy a tie for first at the top of the Overwatch League standings for Week 1. It looks very pretty from up there, but we enjoy a nice +5 map differential for going 6-1. A couple other teams went 2-0, 5 teams total, including your Fusion, 2 from the East and 3 from the West, with 4 other teams going 1-1, and the rest either not playing or going 0-1 to start, or 0-2, excuse me, to start the season. Now, there are a couple of teams coming up this week that I think could be pretty dangerous in the league that have not played yet. We'll get into that in the week 2 previews. The biggest match of the weekend, the biggest event for me of the entire weekend, was the shocking defeat of the San Francisco Shock by the Houston Outlaws, going 6 maps, tying in the second map and needing an extra 6th to go 3-2 with one of the craziest final plays I have ever seen in an Overwatch League matchup. So, Houston is running, in their 2 tanks, they're running Reinhardt, who, if you're not familiar, is a giant knight in shining armor with a big old hammer, and Diva, who is the South Korean gamer girl in the big mech. So, Reinhardt has an ability called Earth Shatter, where it damages everybody around him in a big. It's his ultimate ability. It does a lot of damage, everybody around him in one big area of effect swoop. And then Diva, her ultimate is self-destruct, where she can blow up the mech and just go be on foot for a little while. It also causes a lot of havoc. Somehow, the Houston Outlaws, in the last seconds of the deciding map, were able to sneak one of their tanks, Reinhardt, around the back of the team, surround them with the 2 tanks, activate both ultimates at the same time, and eliminate the entire San Francisco Shock team in two big attacks, then rendering them unable to get back to the payload in that escort mission and taking the entire series 3-2. I have never heard a shoutcaster yell as loud as they did when that play was going off. All the props in the world to the Houston Outlaws, earning that 2-0 record for the first week of the Overwatch League. If you have a chance to go back and watch some of the matches from last week, I recommend that you watch the Fusion matches, because you should always be watching the Fusion if you're a Philly guy or a Philly girl, and that Houston-San Francisco match, just to see how we got to that crazy 6th map and then how the crazy 6th map played out. It's a very, very cool match, very, very much worth your time. And actually, all of the matches this week have been pretty good. The biggest surprise, I think, is the Chengdu Hunters, who is the team that is currently tied with your Fusion at the top of the table with the +5 differential going 2-0. But also from the eastern side, obviously, they put on an absolute clinic. They beat the crap out of both teams that they played this weekend, to the point where I thought the Fusion would have trouble with Seoul and Shanghai. Chengdu seems to be the one that really needs to be paid attention to. Now, they played the LA Valiant like we did. The LA Valiant are not scary. They're still in a rebuilding phase. So beating them is not a big deal. But the way that they ripped up the Shanghai Dragons, who currently have the reigning MVP of the league and one of the best players, aside from Fleta, the MVP, in Void, just absolutely mercilessly beat the crap out of them to get that 2-0 record. That was a very impressive display, to the point where even the experts, the IBM Watson power rankings, where they put a bunch of statistics into Watson and it spits out, who the best teams in the league are based on his power rankings, put the Fusion in 5th, which I have to raise my eyebrow at. But Chengdu at number 1 is a huge, huge surprise. And that's another team that we have to look out for in the Fusion's season this year. And unfortunately, we don't have that long to look out for them, because this weekend's action, again, starting Friday at 3 o'clock, so later today if you're listening to this via podcast, yesterday if you're listening on the radio, Fusion have 2 matches, once again, Saturday and Sunday. They're both at 6:30 this time, and neither of them are the encore, so that kind of stinks. You're going to have to watch the video on demand and not the actual encore if you want to see it live. And your matchups for the Fusion are the Hangzhou Spark, who did not play in week 1. It'll be their first match of the season, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. And on Sunday, those Chengdu Hunters. So in week 2, we already see a matchup between the two teams at the top of the overall standings of the league. What a marquee matchup for 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday. But heck, if I am not terribly excited to see those two teams go at it. Who am I going to pick? We'll get into that. But Chengdu in Philadelphia, 6:30. I may even get up for that. I may even get up to see that match live, just because I really want to see how it turns out. But let's go through, as we do, the entirety of the schedule for week 2. Went 9-5 last week. Not bad. Not bad at all, if I do say so myself. Let's see if I can continue that good look right here. So first, Friday, 3 o'clock, the Paris Eternal make their first appearance of the 2021 season, having a bye and sitting out last week. They are taking on the Vancouver Titans, who are still seeming to be continuing those struggles from last year, going 0-2 with a -4 differential. So they either lost 3-2, 3-0, or 3-1 both times. I'm going to take Paris here. I think Vancouver continues to suffer in the beginning of the league. I think as the weeks go on, they'll start to gel, maybe come back a little bit in future in-season tournaments. But I do not think that this first match of week 2 is where it's at. And that's Friday at 3 o'clock. So if you're listening to the podcast, it's a couple hours from now. 4:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday is the second match of the day. LA Gladiators and London Spitfire. LA had a bit of a disappointing week. Also a -4 map differential, going 0-2 against some pretty good teams. They played the San Francisco Shock on Friday, and they played the Dallas Fuel on Saturday, both of which were hard-fought matches. I do think they right the ship against a London team that really not really feeling a lot about this year. Last year they were a bit middle of the pack, maybe a little less than middle of the pack. I don't think they've done much to really improve that team this year. So LA Gladiators is my pick there. So going Paris and LA on Friday. Saturday, we start off with Chengdu and New York Excelsior. New York did not play a game last week. This will be their first game of the year. But there is no reason to believe that the Chengdu Hunters' momentum will stop now, especially against a team that did not get a head start. So I am pulling for Chengdu in that Saturday matchup. Saturday at 6:30 is your Philadelphia Fusion against the Hangzhou Spark. Hangzhou did not play last week either. This is their first match of the season. And again, I am choosing your Fusion to go over the team that played first. Yes, this is setting up a showdown on Sunday. No, I am not worried that won't happen. Yeah, I probably should be. So Chengdu and Philadelphia in the eastern part of the Saturday matchups. Only 2 matches from the eastern side on Saturday and Sunday this week. Next is Saturday at 3 o'clock. We're talking Houston at Paris. Paris, who is playing on Friday against Vancouver. I do not think they continue their winning ways against Houston because the bump in confidence that they got from beating San Francisco in that match on Sunday is probably through the roof. And I think that they continue that forward momentum against Paris on Saturday, keeping the winning streak alive. Next at 4:30 is the Boston Uprising and the LA Gladiators. Boston did not have a good season last year, did not play last week. This is one of those teams that really comes out and needs to prove something against a team that went 0-2 in week 1, but would be coming off a win if these predictions are correct on Friday. I do think Boston might eke this out. This might be the first quote-unquote upset of the weekend. Boston, like I said, hasn't played a game yet. We don't know what they look like. LA has not shown to be very consistent despite being one of the heavy favorites at the beginning of the season. Give me Boston to set LA back one more time before they come back and start roaring, no pun intended, as they are the Gladiators, and there's a big lion on their logo, through the season. And then Saturday at 6 o'clock, our final game of Saturday, we have the Washington Justice taking on the Dallas Fuel. Dallas Fuel going 1-1. Washington Justice not playing yet, and I think the Justice are going to roll here. I really do. This is another team that I have my eye on. Of course, the last team I said that about, the Atlanta Reign, went 0-2 last week, so maybe my eye is not all that confident. But the Justice really, really impressed me over the offseason with some of the moves they made and the way the roster looks, and I think they're going to turn a lot of heads this Saturday at 6 o'clock when they beat the Dallas Fuel in my prediction. Moving on to Sunday. Sunday at 5 a.m., the first of the second day of matches in the Eastern Conference. You have the Yangshao Spark and the New York Excelsior, two teams that lost on the previous day. I think New York is going to take this over Hangzhou. New York has a little bit of a better squad, if you ask me, and Hangzhou still trying to find their footing after the loss on Saturday. I think New York is the one that's going to come back here and finish the weekend 1-1. And then Sunday at 6:30 a.m., an absolute showdown to start the season. Chengdu and Philadelphia. Chengdu with the hot start, Philadelphia with the start most of us expected them to have, sitting at the top of the table, right next to each other, facing off in week 2 of the Melee qualifiers and week 2 of the season as a whole. And honestly, this one could go either way. This is a major coin flip for me. I want to be the homer and pick the Fusion, but I also know their reputation of not living up to their better competition. See the Grand Finals, Final Four last year. But also, it was Chengdu a 1-week fluke, or do they have the means to keep going in this Overwatch League and keep dominating teams that should not be dominating? I think I'm going to lean Fusion this time. I think that Carpe and Rascal, as long as Rascal can stop dying, I think that they have the ability to pull this out. But I would not be surprised if Chengdu hands us our first loss. I really wouldn't. Not the way they looked against Shanghai last weekend. So Chengdu going 4-0 makes sense, but the Fusion going 4-0 is my pick. And then finally on Sunday, 3 more matches to wrap us up. We have the Houston Outlaws and the London Spitfire. I think it's an easy Houston win. Just based off what I was saying earlier, that boost of confidence must be astronomical after beating the Shock. And I'm going to roll with them until they lose. So Houston over London is my pick there. I think Dallas will rebound and take out the Boston Uprising in match number 2 after losing to the Justice the day before. I think that they will end the qualifying weekend 2-2, and I think they're going to stay there because I don't think they play in week 3. And then finally, the Justice and the Titans at 6 o'clock on Sunday night. I think this is another Washington roll. I think Vancouver does go 0-4 in the Melee qualifiers, and it's going to take another tournament or 2 for them to really find their gist. So if we are going to recap my picks for this weekend, we are going Paris and Los Angeles on Friday. We're going Chengdu, Philadelphia, Houston, LA Gladiators, and the Washington Justice on Saturday. And then we're going New York, Philadelphia, Houston, Dallas, and Washington on Sunday. That's 12 matches to whet your palate. Down from 14 last week, because there's only 2 Eastern matches this week as opposed to 3 in week 1. So hopefully we do as well as we did last week. Like I said, 9-5 is how I started the season. Wouldn't hate an 8-4 in this 12-game slate. Wouldn't hate an 8-4. Would love a 9-3. Would be thrilled with a 12-0, but I don't think that's going to happen. If I had to pick a match that I am the least confident in, unfortunately, it is Chengdu and Philadelphia. I am leaning Philadelphia there, but Chengdu, as I said before, could absolutely have our number. We'll have to see what goes on there. But yep, there it is. Those are my picks for week 2 of the Overwatch League. Looking forward to more great action and hopefully 2 more big wins for your Philadelphia Fusion. Philly Power, baby. All right, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers. Normally, this is the place where I would put one of those on-tap segments for the week, letting you know what games are coming out and what to expect from them. But the only one really worth talking about is Nier Replicant version 1.224744871139... ... That is the full name of the game. It is in the Nier franchise. I believe it is a prequel to the smash hit Nier Automata that came out in 2017 or 2018. A remastered prequel. It came out, was a Japan-only title for a while, but is now making the trip over the pond. So if you're a Nier fan, there's one for you. And then there was also, for the PC faithful out there, Total War Rome Remastered, a classic Total War game being completely rebuilt for the PC by Creative Assembly and Feral Interactive under Sega's watch. So if you like that, that might be something worth looking into. Next week, however, we're going to ring a bell because April 30th is a big day, but we'll get into that next week. Topic number 2 on Cheesesteaks and Controllers this week, we're going to talk about Call of Duty Warzone, a topic not normally breached on this show for the simple reason that I'm just not very good at it. And every time I play it, I get my butt kicked. As much as I enjoy Call of Duty, as much as I enjoy playing that game, I am not the best at Warzone. But that still did not deter me from checking out the big news this week. Warzone is switching seasons. They're ending their Season 2 of content and moving to Season 3 with a new battle pass, new skins, new perks to earn, stuff like that. But the notable thing here is that Activision took the opportunity to change the map from the Modern Warfare style of the previous game when Warzone debuted to the current 1980s aesthetic of Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. And the way that they did that was by nuking the entire Warzone map. That's right. On Wednesday at 3 o'clock, if you were playing Warzone, you went into a match and you started seeing warnings and protocols and all this other stuff. And eventually a cutscene would play where a nuke was fired at Verdansk and completely blowing the place to smithereens. Just gone. Wiped out. So the original Verdansk map is no more. We are now, like I said, in the 1984 version of Verdansk, Verdansk 84. And this probably sounds a little off-kilter to those who don't usually play games. Why would they make such drastic changes in a game like that, a game that people are familiar with, a game that people are very much playing, to that end, also announcing 100 million users this week. And there is some wisdom to those questions. It is a good thought logic to pursue. A thought train, you know what I mean? But believe it or not, this is not the first time something like this has happened. The Battle Royale genre in particular has a lot of weight put into their dynamic worlds. The fact that their worlds can change not only for a single player, but for every single player on the server at the exact same time. And a perfect example of a game that has done a very good job of this is Fortnite. I remember very clearly the first time Fortnite ever tried something like this. They talked about, I don't remember the exact lore or backstory to it, but basically someone was going to launch a missile off of one of the places on the Fortnite island. And if you logged in at a certain time, started a game, and waited, no matter where you were in the world, no matter how many people were left in your match, no matter what, everyone playing would see the rocket launching in their instance, which sounds like a Herculean task for any developer, much less one with the backing of Epic Games or the background of Epic Games, the developer of Fortnite. But they did it. I was there. I was watching on my Switch. The rocket shot up into the sky and cracked the sky, leaving a bunch of cracks there for the rest of that season until that story was finally moved along, and more things have happened since then, of course. But drastically changing a map like this and giving your players something new to experience or something new to learn is not inherently bad. One of the things that video games tend to really struggle with are monotony, is doing the same things over and over and over again, particularly in multiplayer games like Call of Duty or Fortnite. So the ability for a mode like Warzone to take its 100-player format and completely change the approach of the game with one in-game event spanning 24 hours of time, just about, is pretty impressive. So now you're giving your players a brand new map to learn, brand new locations to get familiar with, a brand new experience, if done well. When Fortnite went from Chapter X to from Season X to Chapter 2 Season 1, they added boats and vehicles and fishing, all kinds of stuff. They added all kinds of new things to Fortnite and continue to do so every single season. And right now, we're at a point where half of the map is set in like a caveman tribalist sort of time, whereas the rest of it was the normal map that we were used to in Season 5. They have crafting weapons now, and there are 2 different types of materials that you can gather to craft those weapons, whether it's bones or mechanical parts. They added mechanical parts and bones all over by hunting animals, which is brand new, or by breaking open cars or toolboxes and finding the mechanical parts. It's a completely different gameplay style from the one that was going on when that rocket first launched in that event I mentioned earlier. And dynamic, progressive experiences like this, where everybody can see it at once and it turns into more of a phenomenon or an event than just something that's happening in the game, is pretty big. Being able to, like I said, I admit I was out of Fortnite for much longer than this. Eventually it got me back in Season 5. But having a completely different experience now than I did then is humongous, because it makes me feel like I'm playing something either brand new or playing an established game in a brand new way. I know what the stakes are here. I know what I have to do. I've done it before. I've dropped in. I've shot. I've battled against people. I've gone for the victory royale. But now I have a new playground to do it in, new locations to explore, new people to meet as of Season 4, where they put the non-player characters on that you could talk to, things like that. So for Call of Duty Black, for Activision to completely nuke this island, this place that people were very familiar with in Verdansk, and move them all to a new version of Verdansk set in 1984 is pretty. It's pretty impressive, and it's definitely progressive as well. That seems to be the way that games are going now. Games aren't so much focused on single player experiences or keeping one player in front of the television for one story. Granted, there are still games that do it. Sony is a powerhouse at it right now with God of War and Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2. But for the multiplayer fans out there, their games need to start employing big changes like this, because if it just stays the same format, the same weaponry, the same whatever, over and over again until the cows come home, interest in the game is going to shrink. It's going to shrink fast. That's just how it is. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think if you're having fun with the game, you should be having fun with it forever. But I can also see that changing the game up could do wonders for bringing in new players. There are other games that have tried stuff like this. Just Fortnite and Call of Duty are the biggest examples of it. Honestly, it's a really cool thing. I hope more games try and do it. More Battle Royale games try and do it. Even some multiplayer games. How crazy would it be if you went into like a Call of Duty match, a team deathmatch on a map that you've played hundreds of times before, but then when you went in there, you realized, oh, it's patched. Oh, this is different. Or this is different. Or this weapon was never here before. What else can I do? And that feeling of discovery, the feeling of experimentation, and a little bit of exploration is what makes multiplayer games or big Battle Royale games so much fun. So keeping that going, keeping that mystery going with constant changes to the map. They don't have to be drastic changes. Like, I don't want an entire new map every 2 seasons. I don't want you to drop a bomb on a map every 2 seasons or so. Let us get affiliated with the map we're currently in before you start, tinkering with things way too much. But if you want to add a building here, or a weapon drop there, or a character to talk to up here, that's pretty cool. it keeps players on their toes. It keeps them thinking, wow, what's going to happen next? And it keeps them from wondering if the game's ever going to get stale for them, because the developer behind the scenes is trying to make sure that it doesn't. And as long as they keep plugging away and keep trying to play their game the way they know how, especially in games like Fortnite or Warzone, the players will keep coming back because there's always new stuff to do, even if it doesn't feel relatively new. The big catastrophic stuff like this, like Season X of Fortnite turning into Chapter 2 Season 1, or the big nuke in Verdansk that happened this week, they don't have to be common. They can be few and far between. But little changes to keep things interesting along the way, sure, absolutely. I hope more mobile games. I hope more Battle Royale games. I hope more multiplayer games in general do that. Because that's the only way you're going to keep an audience, is to keep them engaged and keep them going every single time they turn on the consoles. I wish all the luck in the world to Warzone and what they've done with this new Verdansk idea. I hope it works for them so well, and I hope that Warzone sees a whole new fleet of players, getting them to 200 million users at some point in the near future. Heck, I may even drop in Verdansk once or twice more, just to see what the 84 map has going for it, besides the current game, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War's aesthetic or feel. So good on you, Activision. I'm watching. I'm making sure that you're doing what you got to do. But right now, I am very, very impressed with this dynamic, world-changing stuff, as was employed in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War this weekend. Finally, tonight on the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, let's talk about birthdays. Now, at the beginning of the show, I did mention that today was my daughter's 5th birthday. Had a lovely day playing with her and running around and having a good time. But one of the big things that we did involved video games, and it got me thinking, what other games go out of their way to acknowledge the player's birthday? And I found a couple that do some really cool things. Some of them are small, some of them are a little bit bigger. But I saved the one that we actually did for last because I want to get into that in a little bit of detail. So first off is one that I can't really say too much about because it's a huge spoiler for the game itself. So this one is Death Stranding. And if you play the game on your actual birthday, you get a little cake delivered to you by someone in the game. This is an actual story moment. It informs the story a little bit. It is a bit of a spoiler, so I'm not going to get into the details of what's happening. But that's just a neat little thing, that somebody brings you a cake on your birthday, even in the game that you're playing. And Hideo Kojima, who made Death Stranding, is not a stranger to things like this. He has also done it by adding a birthday message to Metal Gear Solid 2. If you were playing Metal Gear Solid 2 and putting your information in and you put in the date of the day you were playing, it would say happy birthday. And also Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, which if you go back to your mother base on your actual birthday, there will be firecrackers and a cake for the big boss's birthday. Really neat little extra cutscene. Doesn't really add a whole lot to the story of the game or anything like that. Just a neat little camaraderie scene with the members of Mother Base. Also, seeing Big Boss get put on edge, this big tough soldier, by celebratory firecrackers is an interesting little wrinkle in this as well. Oh, another one that did something kind of cool, but in a way that actually helped the player for more than just the birthday, was Gran Turismo 5. Gran Turismo has been a stalwart racing franchise for the PlayStation for many, many years. Gran Turismo 2 is one of my favorite racing games of all time. Loved that game on the original PlayStation. But this one we're talking about Gran Turismo 5, and here what they would do is if you played a game on your actual birthday, if you turned the game on in my case, in January, you would get a free pass to unlock any car in the game that shared your birth year. So if you were born in 1984, you would be able to unlock a car from 1984. If you were born in 1990, you'd be able to unlock a car from 1990. And so on and so forth. That is neat, because then you have it actually gives you a new toy to play with. In this case, it's a souped-up race car inside a racing simulator video game, but it's still really cool. It's a nice extra piece of digital content that you didn't have to ask for, you didn't have to purchase, you didn't have to do anything like that. You just get a pass for logging in that says, go get a new car from your birth year and enjoy it. That's a neat little thing. I enjoy that a lot. So, moving on from there, we're going to talk about cake a little more now. We're going to talk about Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. Castlevania is a long, long time side-scrolling franchise battling monsters and demons and all sorts of different things. But Portrait of Ruin on the DS had a little Easter egg where if you put your birthday in and played on your actual birthday, the merchant, the only time this happened was on the user's actual birthday, the merchant would have a birthday cake to sell for a certain amount of gold. Now, that birthday cake is said to heal the hero in a certain amount of HP. I believe it's 573 HP total for getting that birthday cake. But the fact that they would give you not only a birthday cake, but the ability to use it to heal yourself in a precarious situation just for signing on the day you designated your birth, that's really awesome. I love when games go out of the way like that to acknowledge not only the world and the setting and the characters within the game, but a little bit of acknowledgement outside the game and giving someone a great health item to use later on just because it's their birthday. Granted, you have to make them buy their own birthday cake. That kind of stinks. But just offering that to begin with is really, really neat. Pokemon X and Y did something a little similarly, although they didn't give you anything for this one. If you went into a Pokemon Center on the day of your birth, the screen would freeze for a little bit. And while you're freaking out, wondering if your console is broken or your cart is broken or if you have to, restart the game because the game froze. No. The Pokemon Center just drops confetti on you, says happy birthday, and the game continues as normal. Just a little fake out thing the developers put in there to scare a couple of people. But a pretty neat little wrinkle for established Pokemon trainers to be acknowledged on their actual birthdays by the game they were playing. And finally, the one that started this whole conversation, the one that really got me going, we've done it now 2 years in a row, my daughter and I, and it gets better every year, and that is Animal Crossing New Horizons. Technically, this started in Animal Crossing New Leaf, not New Horizons, but we are seeing it in New Horizons for the first time. So when you log in to Animal Crossing on your birthday, you come out of your house, and there's an animal friend standing right there next to your door. And that animal friend says, whatever your name is, whatever name you chose for yourself, you have to come with me right away. Don't say a word, just follow. So you do. Animal Crossing is just a different world. You follow that animal to their house. You go into their house, and when you get in there, two other animal friends from your island are yelling, surprise, happy birthday, and they're letting you blow out candles, and they're popping poppers at you, and you're breaking a piñata to get in-game birthday cupcakes, and you're doing all this fun stuff. Just because your birthday is the day that you set in the game. It's a beautiful little scene, and one that, like I said, I have played for 2 years now with Olivia and love it every single time. She adores it, just watching them all say happy birthday to her and beating up the piñata and stuff like that. That would be cool enough on its own, right? Just that little acknowledgement that this is your birthday, happy birthday, and then they do the little party, and you go back to your merry way, which, fine. But as you go on your merry way and you pass the main square in front of Town Hall, you notice that the guitar-playing dog, KK Slider, is there. Normally only there on Saturdays, normally only performs between 6 and 10 p.m. real time. All of a sudden, KK Slider is at your door. He's at your Town Hall on an off day. Like when I saw it, it was on a Thursday. So we approached, and he said, are you ready for a song? We said yes. We sat down, and all of a sudden, he started playing a song called KK Birthday. Now, if you don't know, real quick aside, KK Slider is a guitarist character in Animal Crossing who comes to your town every Saturday night, plays a song for you, and then gives you that song to play in your radio. Just another item that you can collect throughout the game. And he starts playing this birthday song, and flashing on the screen while he's playing are letters written to you by the animals on your island, saying happy birthday, you're the best, we really appreciate you, stuff like that. All while confetti, it looks like confetti, is, descending in the background in a really nice, really cool way. Normally, what would happen is when you get the dog coming to your town, you ask him to play a song, he obliges, you sit down, and the credits roll. It's actually where the credits roll in Animal Crossing, him playing his music, and you just following along to it. But here, the letters from the other citizens of the island, from the animals on the island, is where this really hits its stride. This is just a super, super, super cool thing that just gives you more and more surprises every time you do it. My daughter and I, like I said, we absolutely love it. We love doing it. We did it last year. We did it again this year with the new KK song. Can't imagine what they'll add next year. But see if your favorite game acknowledges your birthday, if it allows you to put it in, what it does to acknowledge that birthday. Some games really have some cool Easter eggs hidden in them, or some healing potion birthday cakes, or a concert in your honor, or what have you. So there's a lot to see if you can find in those games. But yeah, check it out. Next time you can put your date of birth in, see if anything comes back that you can enjoy. And I hope that it does on whenever your birthday is. And with that, that is episode 45 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeartRadio. My name is Jason Fanelli, and I am the esports and gaming insider for Fox PHL The Gambler. I hope you have a stellar weekend with whatever it is that you're doing, and a great week on the other side. I will talk to you again next Friday. Until then, adios, and happy birthday, Olivia.